Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Gervais Charmley, and this is a church in Cumbria. Now, God willing, the previous video will have gone out just last week, but it's been a few months since I last recorded one. And I'm up here in the Lake District. This is one of the most picturesque parts of England. It's famous for its scenery, its lakes, of course, the connection with many famous writers, poets. Think William Wordsworth, for example, or children's writers, Beatrix Potter and Arthur Ransom. Both of them had Lake District connections, very deep ones, in fact. So it's a very literary area, and it's an area that was quite poor until the 19th century, when there's a massive boom, tourism takes off, and at this point then, there's a lot of concern about the church provision. Many of the medieval chapels were very small and rather ruinous, and so many of them are replaced by Victorian churches. This is St Mary's, Ennerdale, and this was built in 1857, opened 1858, on the site of a medieval chapel. Nothing of the medieval building survives. The chapel, or the church here rather, has been built in a neo-Norman style by Mr. Eaglesfield of Maryport, architect. The style, it's Romanesque. You can see behind me this Norman style chancel arch, and the windows here you can see have round heads rather than pointy ones. And this is a good example of one of the smaller Victorian churches. It's not a perfect example. They're all different, of course, all designed by different people. But this is a part of Britain that's not very rich, and the parishes are pretty big. This was a chapel, not a parish church. And what's the difference? Well, a parish church has a parish. There is an area that the rector or vicar is responsible for. And a chapel is within a parish, and very often these chapels would have a resident curate, a curate being an Anglican clergyman without a parish. The curate would in fact have responsibility for the chapelry, for the district, but he didn't have all the privileges of a parish church. So this is built in 1858. As I say, it's a very simple building. It's been altered since, most notably, and you'll see when we go around, there's a west gallery up here behind the camera, which is a room now. It always had a west gallery, but this has now been turned into a room. Of course, one of the things with west gallery, the site here is fairly restricted. There are old burials around it. And so if you're going to increase your seating capacity, one of the things you do is you build a gallery. So we'll see that as we go around. So let's have a look around now we've introduced the building. So here we are at the back at St Mary's, Ennerdale. And you can see here you've got the usual pews. You see on the side of the pews here, those are umbrella holders. This is England, this is a mountainous area. The rainfall is pretty high, and so you've got these brass bits at the top, these handle type things, and then you've got your drip trays at the bottom. So you put the bottom of the umbrella in the tray, and then the top thing holds it up. So that is what those are. We've got the usual pulpit, and behind the pulpit you've got the choir stalls. Now, I don't know whether originally there were choir stalls here, but obviously they take up a significant proportion of the building. In fact, about a third, bit over a third of the building is not occupied by pews. Choirs were very important to the Victorians, and again you get these musical traditions. How much, of course, remains is another matter. Now, I mentioned the literary background. Here we have "I wander lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, till all at once I came upon," etc. This is Wordsworth, of course. We quote Wordsworth here. And this is to do with, they've got these 4 seasons here. So here we've got in the bleak midwinter for winter, and then the season of mists and mellow fruitfulness, autumn, and then you've got summer there. We've got the War Memorial. Now this is it's an ecumenical parish of Lamplugh and Ennerdale, and ecumenical because the Methodists are involved as well. The pulpit there, this carries on the neo-Romanesque style. You can see there's a small portable font. I suspect that may have come from the Methodists. What's happened, as often does in these cases, that the Methodist chapel has been closed and they've merged with the Anglicans. The organ dates from the 1970s, and I did look up who it was, but I have forgotten, so let's have a look. It is, oh yes, George Sixsmith of Ashton-under-Lyme, 1976. And being 1976, there's none of these fake pipes in the front. You can see the actual organ pipes in there. We have the chancel, 1850s. It's small, and it's just an apse with the communion table, and you can see the rails at the front where they kneel to receive communion. Embroidered altar frontal there, very common, and the banner, Lamplugh with Ennerdale, Jesus is Lord, Diocese of Carlisle. The only stained glass is in the three apse windows. We have the Virgin Mary, we have the Lord Jesus Christ, come unto me, and we have the Apostle John. So it's the figures that you'd have in a rood, but Christ is not depicted as being crucified. Turn around, and you can see there is the gallery. Now, that would originally have been seating. It is now a room. I suspect it's used as a creche during services, so you've got the children up there. The windows can be folded back so that if you do need people to be up there to hear the service with apart from using a microphone, which I suspect is what happens with children up there, then you can fold them back and the gallery then just becomes straight up West Gallery again. So that, it's a very simple structure, and that's the interior. So having done that, we shall go next outside. So we're now outside here at Ennerdale. I just avoided breaking my ankle on a rabbit hole, I think. And one of the reasons why this is such a constrained site is to do with streams that meet here. So it's an existing graveyard, and they had to build the church where the old building was. So that's one of the reasons for the West Gallery. The other thing, of course, is that it means in the winter, when you have fewer visitors, you can close it off and the congregation doesn't look like it's shrunk so much. So this is outside. Again, it's this neo-Norman style, these rounded headed windows. They're of course bigger than actual Norman windows would be because practicality, and we have glass, the Normans didn't. A Norman church like this would not have had glass, but if you've got glass, why pretend that you don't? So we'll have a look around the outside, and then of course the usual closing remarks. So here we are outside, as I said, and you can see this on the side. This is the vestry. Area at the back now has been closed off to give a basically space under the West Gallery, including a kitchen area, toilets, all the things you actually need in a modern church. The Victorians even, well, partly the case that your home or the home of a friend would be nearby, so if you needed to, you could duck in there. I mentioned the stream. You can see here's the churchyard wall and the stream running by outside. So they couldn't extend the church that way. And here again we have it's a nice, you see the difference in materials of the gravestones here. You've got a slate one and other sort of stone one. I forget what kind of stone it is. But you can see here the slate is really good at holding the inscription, whereas the other stone weathers more readily. been some storms around here. You can see the wood there, that's a tree has come down, and as we come around here we've got the apse. There's the road entered on the north side, but the light is better on the south. So there's the apse, and you can see a little bell turret, and it's just a little turret for a single bell that you go ding ding ding, calling the people to the church for worship on Sunday morning, and also of course it'd be tolled for funerals, and it would be rung joyfully at weddings. It's not quite daffodil season, but you can see they're getting ready to come up here, the golden daffodils that Wordsworth wrote of. So that, see the turret there, it doesn't go there to the ground, it's corbelled out there, the angle between the nave and the chancel. You can probably hear the crows up there. So that there is the north side. See the entrance sticking out there. It's got a neo-Norman doorway. What was the medieval church like? It was a lot smaller and simpler, and it was in a very poor state by 1857, which is part of the reason why it's pulled down. The other part is we want a bigger, more impressive church for our site. So that's the outside. And so there we have it, St Mary's, Ennerdale. It's a very good example of these Lake District Victorian churches that are built. The Lake District has its popularity. Wordsworth has written. People come up here, and there's a bit more money, there's a bit more in the way of interest, and the population goes up a bit. There's summer holidays, and the provision then with churches like this is increased. And so this is a little different, of course. They're not built to a pattern, but all of them have a basic, simple design, nave chancel, and often, particularly 1850s, but even later on, you're looking at nave and a little apse rather than a big chancel, because these are still small villages. Well, thank you for watching, and may God bless you and keep you until next time.